Howdy folks, welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. This is Double G. He's from the Relic clan and he's driving his BatChats 25T Tier 10 French medium tank here on the airfield map. Obviously it's a Tier 10 game. One thing that the BatChat is not is slow. This thing will easily do 60 kilometers per hour. The thing only weighs 25 tons and it has a very powerful engine. You can see that XVM has rated this match as a 53% chance to win. So it basically could go either way. And he's going to use the speed of the BatChat to rush forward to a very aggressive spotting position. You'll note that the 105mm gun loads quickly enough that the instant he gets up here, he could, if there were targets in the open, immediately begin shooting. But the first thing he's going to do is reverse into the position, so that if he did get spotted there, he would immediately be able to gun the engine, drive forward, and get into the cover provided by those rocks over on his right. He spots the enemy T-21, disappointingly nothing else, moves forward into partial cover from the rocks so he can take a shot at the T-21 and then inch forward and be out of his line of fire. But there's no sign of the T-21. Disappointingly, there's no sign of anything else either. Now, while there's a whole bunch of nothing going on here, have a look at the map and see if you can spot the disaster waiting to happen. Nobody is covering the southern end of the map. Hell, nobody's even watching the southern end of the map. There's a scout on the team, Type 64, who only now has started moving. And he's heading the wrong way. Nobody's interested in watching what's happening on the southern end of the map here. And Double G is the only person on his team who's in a position to watch what's happening in the middle of the map. The entire enemy team could be rolling around that southern flank, and the first thing they would know about it is when they all suddenly started losing their artillery. Finally, Double G actually spots something worth shooting at. His first shot bounces, looked like the 268 ate it with the tracks. The second shot goes through, but then he's spotted. There are 4 artillery on the enemy team. Watch how quickly Double G hugs the rocks here. As soon as he knows he's been spotted. Oh, no, my bad. There are actually 5 artillery on the enemy team. One of them's in a fail platoon. There's an M37 Tier 4 artillery in this Tier 10 game. Well, anyway, Double G has dropped off the radar by now, so he moves back into his spotting position and is rewarded with a shot at a T-69. Ducks into cover. He's certainly spotted there, yep. But then, oh, side of an Object 268, why the hell not? First shot blows his tracks off, second shot goes right into his fighting compartment. Now he's out of ammunition, there are 5 artillery in play. He ducks back into the cover of the rocks. Now, while he's reloading, those of you who were paying attention will have realised that a couple of seconds ago, they were actually being capped. There's a T-21 running riot around the inside of the cap circle. This is what you get if you completely ignore 2/3 of the map. People sneak around, they get into your base, they light up your artillery. Artillery who, by the way, are just sitting there, completely oblivious to the fact that there was a light tank 50 metres away from them. Just lost in their little aerial view world with absolutely no idea of what's going on around them. Speaking of which, I actually noticed this a couple of seconds before Double G did. Look behind him. Yeah, that's not good. He goes for a reload, and then he notices. Oh, shit. Now, luckily, his tank was pointing this way anyway, so he is able to move quickly. Gets his tracks blown off and does not waste time using the repair kit. Pedal to the metal, gets the hell out of there. The gun's being reloaded. He couldn't do anything up there anyway. He needs to relocate, and he needs to relocate fast. Now, where's he going to go? Oops. We'll just pretend that never happened. Okay, guns reloaded. Type 64 who killed the T-21 in the base is covering the southern end of the map. He knows that his right flank should be safe. And there was an Object 268 up here somewhere. There he is. 1 shot. Come on. 2 shots. Bingo. T-21, he takes a hit. 76mm gun. He can afford to take a hit from a T-21. But being spotted by the T-21, whoa, there goes some fire. Remember, lots of artillery on the enemy team. And it's at this point that it must have just dawned on him that nobody on the enemy team has bothered coming around the south either. So he's reloaded the gun, and he's going for enemy artillery. There's a Type 64 who for the last 2 minutes has been watching this side of the map after killing the T-21 that was in their base. And there's been nothing come around here. Sounds like a job for the BatChat. He's been spotted. That's the T-21 that he just put a shot into. His gun reloads. He spots the first artillery, does not fire while he's moving. The BatChat is one of the worst tanks in the game for firing on the move. Even at point blank range, this gun will miss targets if you fire while you're moving, as you're going to see in a moment. Oh, that was close. Yep, there is another artillery right behind him. There it is. But there's two right in front of him. Plants one. Drives around him, rams the M37. Don't really want to waste a shot on him. Point blank range shot, misses. Oh my god. Okay, ram him. Save the 2 shots for the guy behind you. And as quick as that, 3 artillery dead. Type 64 and a Type 61 come rushing up after him into the enemy base, looking for his leftovers. And he's moving back. He's heading back to attack the heavies and mediums over on the northern side of the map while he reloads the gun. And yeah, he really needs to stop doing that. It's the second time it's happened now. It's easy to do in the BatChat though. The tracks, the suspension on the tank does not have a lot of health, especially when it's already been damaged. It'll be reloaded any second now. Oh, Type 64 and the Type 61 have just run into the Waffenträger E100. The Type 64 has died. And there's the enemy IS-7, and he's a one-shot kill. He fires. The first shot is eaten up by the spaced armour right on the side. The second shot, he stops, he aims, he makes sure it goes in. He's got 3 shots left. And they've just lost their Type 61. There's now him and 1 artillery left, and it's not a very high tier artillery. He's been spotted. There's a pattern behind him, an E100 in front of him. They're both one-shot kills. He has 3 shots in his magazine. The pattern fires and misses him, or possibly it was enemy artillery. He tries to get around the E100. The E100 does not miss. Okay, now he's one-on-one against the pattern. He's only got 1 shot left. You know how bad the BatChat is at firing on the move. He needs to make sure this shot goes in. There's the pattern. He takes a hit from the pattern, but he's got the health for it. He fires his last shot, kills the pattern. He's now out of APCR ammo. Remember, APCR is standard ammunition on tier 10 medium tanks. He's now down to 2 clips of high explosive anti-tank, which isn't a problem, but it's going to mean this is going to be an expensive game for him. He is, of course, a one-shot kill for just about anything on the enemy team at this point. And yeah, his only backup is a tier 5 French artillery in a tier 10 match. So I suppose it's, you know, look at it one way, it's nice that the matchmaker at least put a failed platoon on both teams. Oh, there's one of them. And this is the irony of driving a BatChat. It's a good tank, but its only real defense is its speed. It has to keep moving. Of course, if it keeps moving, it can't hit anything because the gun is so incredibly bad at firing on the move. But, you know, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be driving French medium tanks. And of course, the artillery that spots you is not the threat. It's the artillery that he is spotting for that is likely to kill you when you've slowed down to aim and take your shot. And of course, in another stroke of irony, he's now reloaded with a clip of exactly the kind of ammunition that you just really don't need at all to deal with the kind of enemies that are left on the enemy team. You could kill these guys with high explosive, so this is going to be an expensive match for him, however it ends. So, he's waiting for them to try to come and cap. You would not want to be on the enemy team in this situation. Both the enemy tanks have got no armour. And he's in a back. Oh, there's the Waffenträger. He fires and misses because he's reversing. He does get spotted. Now the Waffenträger is dangerous enough, but it's the Lorraine 155. He's the guy who's going to kill him. He immediately ducks into arty cover. He's only got 3 shots left. Is it going to be enough to kill the Waffenträger? He's broken contact. He's no longer popped up on the map. The Waffenträger's heading around right into friendly artillery. Now it's only tier 5 artillery. There he is. Perfect. Couldn't ask for better. 1 shot. He's been spotted. 2 shots. 3 shots. Leaves him on 5 health. You have got to be kidding me. He's got to keep moving. Oh, he's been spotted. Artillery is going to be ranging in on him as a priority target. And what a rock star. There we go. Artillery just missed, but the Waffenträger's dead. The tier 5 artillery finished him off. Oh. Failed platoon suddenly becomes a win platoon. To be fair, he just had to hit anywhere within a metre of him to finish him off on 5 health. But tier 5 just killed a tier 10. You little French hero. Anyway, it's now 2-on-1. However, what you probably don't want to be doing in a BatChat that is a one-shot kill for a Lorraine 155 is rushing around the map and coming around a corner at an enemy artillery that's just waiting to plant a shot into you. So rushing around the map and trying to find the enemy artillery could work, but it's not really playing to his strengths. So instead, what he's going to do, he's going to go and sit in the cap circle, and he's going to force the enemy arty to come to him in order to win. Now this is basically telling the enemy artillery, here I am, come and get me. But he's making the most of the situation. Where he's positioned himself, he's got clear view all the way across the centre of the map. He's trying to coax the friendly artillery to get over here and help cap with him. That way, if the worst happens and he does die to a hit from the 155, don't forget the 155 is going to have to spot him himself. There's nobody else left on his team to go out and detect him. He's got his gun pointing at the one and only place he can be surprised from, which is the inside of the cap circle, where all that cover from the buildings are. If the 155 approaches from the centre, he will see him long before the 155 get eyes on him. He's not moving. He won't have to spend as long aiming at him. It's a good plan. And friendly artillery has finally, he's been coaxed by the rest of the team. Go on, do what the guy's telling you to do. Get there into the cap circle. So that's another set of eyes watching the middle of the map. It's a second chance that if arty is in that direction, he's going to get spotted. G's turned the tank around now to take advantage of friendly artillery spotting in that direction. If the enemy Lorraine pops up behind him, he's facing in the right direction for a swift exit to get out of there before the guy can zero in on him. Here comes the AMX in the cap circle. Arty was happy to lose, did not want to take the bait. The win's a win. So, a slightly anticlimactic ending, but what a result. Look at that. Top Gun, high caliber, 5,500 damage done. Invader, Dimitri's medal, he killed 4 artillery. Radley Walters medal, and Master Tanker, and he made 78,000 credits and almost 4,000 XP out of that game. Didn't make a profit though. The cost of gold ammunition in tier 10 machines is so ridiculous that despite only firing 5 rounds of high explosive anti-tank, his ammunition costs wiped out all of his profits from that game. He actually lost almost 12,000 credits, but with a result like that, I really don't think he cares. This is Deviant. He's in the M5 Stuart. It's an American tier 4 light tank. This tank gets scout matchmaking. That's why it's in a tier 8 game here on Prokhorovka. Deviant does take his scouting seriously, however. He spent quite a bit of money on the M5 Stuart, equipping it as a spotter. He's got his camo net, he's got his binocular telescopes. That's 600,000 credits he spent on this tank in order to make it a good spotter and be able to pull its weight in tier 8 games. Based on the available evidence, he seems to know what he's doing as well. The M5 Stuart is a fast, light tank. It'll easily do 60 kph. But these are tier 8 tanks. They only have to hit him twice and he's a dead scout, and dead scouts don't do any spotting, and bingo, here we go. First enemy tank spotted. And here come the rest. His work here is complete for now. Of course, there is absolutely nobody on his team in any rush to come forward and take advantage of all of the spotting that he's doing, and if he sits that close to the ridge, they will proximity detect him when they come over the ridge, which they're going to do. And he's not stupid, he knows this, so he pulls back to a secondary spotting location. And there it is. Now there are some tanks behind him, and he's now in a position to detect these guys as they crest the ridge so that the campers behind him can hopefully do something about it. Not expecting a lot from the idiot in the Jagdpanther, who's just sitting there on top of the ridge in no cover whatsoever, but the IS-3 is at least using whatever concealment is available, and yeah, bingo. We've just gotten a tank killed. You'll notice he's not dumb enough to fire his gun at the front of an IS-3. It's a 75mm howitzer. He's not going to hurt him. All he's going to do is give his position away, and he's going to get himself killed. The best thing he can do for his team right now is stay in this position, light these guys up as they come over the ridge, giving our own artillery and the two IS series tanks behind him first shot opportunities as these guys as they come over. He's doing a good job right where he is. Once the team's dealt with these guys, he can then move forward and start putting eyes on the village and the far side of the team. There's plenty of bushes up there that he can use once there are no enemy tanks within 50 meters of those bushes. Moving forward now would just be suicide. Dead scouts don't spot anything. Unfortunately, the M41 on his team appears to have other ideas. He keeps spamming chat demanding that Deviant move forward and scout. Deviant tries to explain to him that actually I am scouting, thanks very much. You worry about the tanks that are still threatening the ridgeline over here that I'm lighting up, and you haven't killed yet, and when you've killed them, then I will go forward and spot the rest of the team for you. And this, of course, is perfectly sound advice. Does the M41 take it? Oh my, the scumbag in the M41 team killed him for not scouting the way he wanted him to. What a massive surprise, I totally didn't see that coming, said absolutely nobody ever. And then the team killer's little bitch boyfriend and clanmate, in the Tiger P, instead of doing something useful like killing enemy tanks, spends the rest of the game pushing Deviant's wreck over the cliff, because that's just so mature, isn't it? And in news that will probably shock absolutely nobody, he can't even get that right the first time he tries it. This team lost, by the way, massively. Yes, I know, do try to contain your surprise. While we're on the subject of scouts, this is Royce Ming Yu, and he is in Bert the Avenger, British Tier 6 light tank. I'm deadly serious, you'll see what I mean when you watch this replay. Royce is here on Muravanka, and Muravanka, it doesn't really matter what tier tanks you are playing. Battles in Muravanka, over here on the eastern side of the map in the Magic Forest, always pan out the same way. The forest is infested with campers. The guys attacking from the south move up and infest the ridge overlooking the forest. One brave soul moves into the forest, finds an enemy tank, is found by the enemy tank, and dies in a hail of gunfire to all the campers in the forest. You may kill that one enemy tank, you may not. In this case, Royce kills him. But nobody else wants to move into the forest after that, and so it just settles down to a big game of who can camp the hardest. And it's really, really boring and predictable. So what do we actually have down here? There's a Stug, there's a T1, there's a Matilda, and there's a Valentine. None of them are exactly scout material, are they? On the other hand, we do have a Bert. Screw it. Man pants on. Stug. Targets will appear to your front. Targets will fall when hit. Watch and shoot. Watch and shoot. Let's do this. Yep, if you want a job done properly, sometimes you have just got to do it yourself. That's right. Artillery just went into the magic forest on Muravanka and scouted for the tank destroyers. Oh, Bert, we love you. I'm always fond of saying that this is not an artillery. This is the bastard offspring of a Hummel and an ELC AMX, and it absolutely is. This thing works as a tank destroyer, it works as a scout, it works as a light tank, and sometimes it even works as artillery. But if you have one of these things and you only use it as artillery, you're just not realising the full potential of this little monster of a machine. Of course, by the time he gets back and goes into artillery view, there's nothing spotted in the forest anymore. But that's not the point. He moves up. There's a couple of targets over there, but Bert does not have much in the way of range. He has a look, and no, they're all outside of his shooting range. Still, that scout run was fun. Couldn't possibly get away with something like that twice, could we? That would just be pushing our luck. Stug, targets to your front. Watch and shoot. Watch and shoot. And he goes for it again. Oh, there's one. Come on, somebody shoot him. I mean, what does it take? Artillery has driven into the woods to find targets for you. So there we go. That's what the doctor ordered. Oh, great. Now, nothing spotted. And the one tank that he did detect, the team couldn't kill. Just what exactly does it take to motivate these donkeys? So we've played as artillery. We've played as a scout light tank. What's next? Oh, I know. Let's play as a tank destroyer. And now that he's shown the Stug what he should be doing, it's time to go back to being a light tank again. And bingo, there you go. There's the M8 and the M37 both spotted. Bert the Avenger, best scout tank, EU. There is quite literally no end to this handsome young tank's talents. He is a scout, he is a light tank, he is a tank destroyer. Hell, if you're desperate, he is even artillery. If you've got one of these things and you're just using it as artillery, you really need to do yourself a favour. Spread your wings a little. You'd be surprised at what this thing can do. Tonight's final replay is quick and very, very violent. This is Martian 69. He is in the Ferdinand, the first German Tier 8 tank destroyer. Long before there was a Jagdpanther II, long before there was a Rheinmetall Borsig, there was just the Ferdinand. This is one of my favourite machines in World of Tanks. It is ranked only behind my Marder II, which I no longer play, in fact which I no longer own, and my Lerva for the most games played. I had more Top Guns on the Ferdinand when I was grinding this out towards the Jagdtiger than any other machine. This thing is absolutely deadly. And it's all down to the frontal armour, particularly the upper hull, the casement. And that 105mm gun, which just unloaded a world of hurt into the side of that KV-5. And if you like what he did to the KV-5, just wait until you see what happens to this Cromwell. Boom! Headshot. Dan ammo rack. Is the KV-5 still there? Yep, and he's still facing the same way. No problem, if it's funny once, it's funny every time. One of the questions that I probably get asked more than any other about World of Tanks is which German Tier 8 tank destroyer should I go for? Because there is a choice of three. There's the old but, you know, still gold. Look at this. Did it again. The Ferdinand, which has the armour and it has the gun, but it definitely does not have the mobility or the speed. There's the Jagdpanther 2, which has sloped armour, hull down, is practically impenetrable from the front, has the same gun selection and is very quick. And then there's the Rheinmetall Borsig, which has a great gun selection but has no armour and is very immobile, while still having very, very good camo rating. And to be honest, they're all three very, very good machines. It just depends entirely on how you play your tank destroyers. You can do things in one that you can't do in another. What you can do in the Ferdinand is drive this thing like an assault gun. Face first, right into the enemy. Now this thing is not impenetrable from the front. You don't want to go driving this thing around as if nobody can penetrate your frontal armour. They can, especially if you're in a tier 9 or 10 game, and it has weak spots at the front that even in a tier 8 game people can penetrate. The corners at the front of the hull are sloped at 45 degrees, but they're only 80mm thick. And there's a lot more gold flying around through the air these days than when I was grinding the Ferdinand, back when you had to actually spend gold to buy gold ammunition, hence the name Gold Ammunition. And in a tier 8 game, the 30 is one of those machines that people will load gold for when they see, especially if they're shooting at the front of you. This Tiger, he can theoretically penetrate the Ferdinand's upper casement. It's 200mm thick. His gun has 203mm of penetration, but yeah, he's just panicking. He's panicking, and the 30 just, well, doesn't have problems penetrating the front of a Tiger. And driving it aggressively like that is exactly the difference between the Ferdinand and the other two tier 8 German tank destroyers. You definitely cannot drive the Rheinmetall Borsig like that and live for very long. Situationally, you can do it in the Jagdpanther 2, but you can do it all the time in the Ferdinand. And there's another kill. And you pretty much, a lot of the time you have to drive the Ferdinand aggressively because it's so slow. It's one of those machines that can get left behind the course of the action unless you're up there dictating the flow of the battle. And I think, if I'm not very much mistaken, that is the first shot Martian 69 has fired today that has failed to penetrate. But it is an IS-6, very, very strong angled and sloped armour on the IS-6. He loads his first round of APCR to deal with the IS-6, then realises he cannot cross that road given the side of his tank to a Tiger P, so he's forced to shoot the APCR at the Tiger P. He's going to have to deal with this guy, switches back to normal armour piercing ammo. There's also an Indian Panzer peppering this guy with shots. Shot comes in from behind, Indian Panzer. Tiger P manages to penetrate his front. It is entirely possible. Indian Panzer finishes him off. There's only two of them left now. The Jagdpanther 2 that went around to the rear of the IS-6 has been killed, and the enemy team, well, here comes a Jagdpanther. Now watch this. This Jagdpanther knows exactly where to shoot a Ferdinand from the front, right there. Right at that section of 45-degree angled frontal armour. It is 45-degree angled, but it's only 80mm thick. That is exactly where you shoot a Ferdinand from the front. Unfortunately, it's not going to do the Jagdpanther any good. These last three remaining enemy players did work very well together. Look, T69 is now firing into the rear of the Ferdinand. He's trying to keep the Jagdpanther alive. The three of them are concentrating their fire. They're coming at these two surviving enemy tanks from three different angles. Unfortunately, the IS-6 tried to get around behind the Indian Panzer. It was just a little too slow. The T69 couldn't finish the Ferdinand off. He's now reloading. The Indian Panzer, knowing that the T69 is reloading and that they've got to maximise their firepower and stick together, backs Martian 69 up in the Ferdinand. He bounced his last shot. He's not going to bounce that one. And now, there we go. It's just the T69. He's bouncing fruitlessly off the front. Yeah. He panicked, he didn't aim his shots, he lost. So, Martian69 walking away with a couple of awards, some credits, and some XP for that little game there in Ruinberg on fire. And if anybody ever asks you, how should I drive the Ferdinand, just get them to watch this video, because that's it. You can't do that in the Ferdinand in every game that you play, of course. You have to know that your flanks are secure. The side armour is only 80mm thick. And Tier 9 and 10 tanks, you don't have that many problems getting through your frontal armour, but when this thing is top tier, it's an absolute bully of a tank destroyer. It's an aggressive, fearless assault gun. Sitting at the back, when you're top tier, on a map like that, in a Ferdinand, you're doing it wrong. And that's it for this episode of The Good, The Bad and The Ugly. Hope you've been entertained, and as always, I'll catch you next time.